This is my exact playbook on how to buy 10 rental units in 5 years. Depending on what market you're in, it can be very difficult to acquire rental properties, especially with interest rates at 8% and have them make sense. But I've found a strategy that still works to this day that has made me a lot of money in rental income over my career. Here's my playbook. For those that are new to the channel, my name is Shane Holmes. I live, eat, and breathe real estate. I'm also obsessed with cars, and I'm here to share with you guys my exact strategies on how I got to 10 rental properties in 5 years and how you can do it too. Spoiler alert, the biggest thing that you can do is actually just get started and take the risk. If you're okay taking a little bit of risk and just going for it, that's what's really gonna help put you there. I always started with everyone else around me telling me not to buy that house, that it's risky, you're crazy, but I did it anyway. And now that I'm 10 years into the business and 5 years into investing into real estate, that has been what set me apart from everybody else. And that's why I have rental income, is because I ignored everybody else and I took the risks. So I'm in California. Interest rates are at 7-8%. It's a very competitive market and it's very hard to build a rental portfolio. So the best way to do it is by buying single family properties and building ADUs. There's two strategies that I use for ADUs. In California, we have a junior ADU where you can convert the garage into a rental unit. Those bring in like $2,500 up to even $3,000 a month, depending on the market. And then you can also build a separate detached ADU. The detached ADU is going to cost you at least $200,000. The garage conversion is going to cost you at least $80,000. And this is with good contractor pricing, just to give you an idea of how much cash you need. The down payment for these properties, you can get in, if you're buying it, you're going to live there, with 5% or even 3.5% down with FHA. I've always done 5% down when I was getting started. I recommend that you do the same with conventional, and I'll give you a hack on your mortgage on how to save hundreds of dollars every month at the end of this video. This is applicable to any property that you bought with less than 20% down, so stay tuned for that. So step one is just finding the deal. You need to identify a good deal on a single family house that has a garage that you can convert or has enough room in the backyard to build an ADU. With interest rates at 8%, if you don't add value with one of these methods, the property is going to lose money on a monthly basis, even if you put 20% down. So that's how we're going to force value and win and get cash flow. Before you do anything is going to be getting pre-approved with your lender to see if you can afford to buy the property. If you can't get pre-qualified, there's no reason to search for a deal because you're not going to be able to take it on. And just an extra tip, before you get pre-qualified, you're going to want to talk to your lender before you file your taxes to make sure that they're structured appropriately to get you into the price point you need to be at for the loan that you need. So we're going to get pre-qualified. We're going to find a house, preferably a single family, that has a garage that can be converted for like $80,000 to $100,000. And once we have this deal identified, make an offer and close on it. The construction process is going to take at least 90 days building out the garage ADU and remodeling the main house. So just beware of that. So you really got to ask yourself questions before entering this journey. How much passive income you want, because that's going to dictate how many units you need. In this video, we're talking about 10. So figuring out how many units you want is just reverse engineering the math. If you want to have $10,000 a month in passive income, that could be 5 houses paid off, giving you $2,000 a month. Or if you want 50,000, you just do the math that way. So pick your number that you want in your quote unquote retirement to jump off the hamster wheel and then start working towards it. Having this goal already in your mind is so important because then you're not just running around and randomly making activities. You're working very specifically towards a retirement and towards a passive income number. So that is huge. Make sure that you know how much you want to make. A huge reason why I love real estate so much is because you can leverage in with 5% down and get into properties early. And there's really no other asset class where you can do that. And the other reason is because it buys freedom. Once you have cash flow coming in, you can either use that cash to continue growing your business, which is what I'm doing because I'm typically more aggressive, or you can just work less and spend more time with your family. There's a lot of power behind owning real estate, and it also just compounds. So you get into a property with 5% down, you bought for $500,000, 10 years later, it's worth $1 million, and all you did was put that 5% down. So to get that appreciation and that growth is just insane. And the leverage that you can use, 95%, is unbeatable. And that kind of leverage doesn't really exist in any other market. Now that you have your goal, you got to work towards it and kind of figure out what makes sense for you. Some people look at the goal of, I need to own this many properties paid off. I don't really like this method because you're using your cash to pay properties off instead of accumulating more. Being young, I think that it's important to just, even if you get to that 10 doors and then you can pay them off, I like the idea of just buying more real estate. Yes, there is risk involved, but I think that accumulating more doors, you'll be grateful later on. I haven't paid off any of my properties, and almost all my properties are at 3% because I bought them when I was younger. I like the idea of getting to more units and hitting that income number. Debt is an incredible tool if you're using it for real estate and you're being responsible. So I say use the debt all day. Don't pay the houses off. Keep buying more, and you'll probably thank yourself for it later. When you're in this accumulation stage of buying more real estate, you need to make sure that your credit score is always good. I have a credit guy. If there's ever too many inquiries or I see something dip, I'm on top of it, because if you don't have a great credit score, you can't buy more real estate. Your income needs to be dialed in. We talked about needing to show your tax returns to your lender before filing them, because if you can't qualify from an income standpoint and a credit standpoint, you're not in the game. Unless you're paying cash for houses, which if you have enough cash to buy $1 million house and do that, amazing. But for most of us, we're using financing. Make sure your credit's in order so that you can scale. You also need to have your debt in check. So before you file your tax returns, you want your lender to pull your credit and look at your tax returns, because you need to make sure that you're going to be within your debt to income ratio. So when you have car payments and you have other things on your credit report, that's going to affect how much you can borrow. So whatever you're doing, send it to your lender, give them everything up front so that you can make sure that you're in a position to win and buy more real estate. So to expand on my exact strategy on how I've done it and how I advise you guys to do it, you want to buy your first property as soon as you possibly can. You want to get in with 5% down. If you have more money to put down and you want to, I'm all about it, but you can get in for 3.5 to 5% down and use the rest of the money to build that separate unit. Because if you're buying a house for like $700,000 and you're putting 5% down, your payment's going to be in that $6,000, $5,000 ballpark. So it's not cheap. You need to have cash to build that other rental unit so that the property can make money or decrease your risk. If you're going to be moving into it and living there, you're not going to be eating a $6,000, $5,000 a month payment. Your tenant is going to be offsetting like almost half of it. So that's why this strategy is so powerful. One thing that I never did that a lot of people are huge on is the BUR strategy. So you buy it with 5%, you fix it up, and then you refinance and pull your cash out and go buy another one. I know some people swear by this strategy, and looking back, I probably should have done that 1 or 2 times, done a big cash out refi and bought more. But my game plan was I'm going to use my cash, the 5% down, and then the 150 grand or 250 grand for construction. And I'm going to leave it in the property because I hate refinancing. I hate going through the process. And that's going to make me hungry to go out and earn more income to buy more properties instead of just pulling the cash out and doing it. So it worked for me because it kept me really hungry because I'm so passionate about buying real estate. So I would go and sell more homes so that I could get more commission for a down payment to go buy another one. But the BUR strategy is a very effective method, and I don't discount it at all. If you want to get to 10 units faster, use the BUR strategy. If you don't like refinancing like I don't, and you want to just keep grinding and making more money to get more properties, that's also the other side of the coin. So you bought your first property, you put 5% down, you did a garage conversion or built an ADU, so it's either 2 or 3 units, you're a third of the way to your goal. So you're now living in this 3-unit property, you're occupying one of the units, then you go out and buy another one, put another 5% down, go move into it, build 2 or 1 more unit, and then you basically just rinse and repeat that until you get to the number of units that you want to be at. My goal was always to hit 10 units by the time I was 30. I finally was able to do that with this method, and it's really effective. I now have a relatively substantial amount of rental income that comes in every month, and I do almost nothing for the work. All of my rents get collected with a software called Avail. I'll link that down below so that you guys can have it. I don't make any money off of it. It's just a really good tool. And all of my tenants, they have their rental contract signed through the software. It automatically pulls money from their account into my bank account. So I literally do nothing for these properties. I have a handyman that I send out when things break. It's not rocket science, and I promise you that you can do it. Now for the bonus tip that I promised you guys. When you're buying these houses with 5% down, the negative side is that you get hit with what's called private mortgage insurance, or PMI. When you're improving the property after you buy it and you fix it up nicely, you actually don't have to refinance to get out of your PMI. A lot of people think that, oh, I don't want to put 5% down, I don't want to pay this money every month. Here's the hack. You don't have to. Once you have enough equity in the property, and if you've built 1 or 2 units, you do have more equity because you're forcing the value up. You can go to the bank and say, hey, I've improved the property. There's over 20% equity in this house. Please remove my PMI. They'll either send someone out to do an appraisal or they'll just remove it. Sometimes you got to be on top of them a little bit, but you got into this house with 5% down, and now you get to tell them, hey, take this off my payment. And literally they will take the $500 or whatever it is off of your payment just for asking. For those who don't know this, absolutely go to your bank and say, get rid of my PMI insurance. I have enough equity. So you got the benefit of buying with 5% down, and now you don't have to pay the PMI. So if you're in California, I'll give you an idea of what the numbers are for building a 3-unit. Every 3-unit property that I build collects about $9,000 to $12,000 a month in gross rents. That's before expenses. And these houses don't have huge amounts of expenses usually. Sometimes you'll get hit pretty big. Like I just had one last week where I had to pay $20,000 to fix a bunch of drywall and foundation stuff at one of my properties. That was a rarity. For the most part, you're at like, call it, you're netting $8,000 to $10,000 a month on each 3-unit property you build. So if you're going for the strategy of paying them off and you want to make 30 grand a month in passive income, you only need 3 of them. And each one is going to cost you somewhere between 800,000 and 1.2 million in this general market. And that is what I have done to really be able to build substantial cash flow. All of my mortgages are at 3%, but if they're at 7% and you're into the idea of just having a few properties completely paid off and having a stress-free life, absolutely pursue that. Do the accumulation phase and then the payoff phase. If you want to keep growing like I am, don't pay them off and just keep buying more. But that is the best way to get to 10 cash flow positive rental units in 5 years. I hope this video was super informative for you guys. Make sure that you subscribe if you love investing, real estate, and cars. We'll see you guys on the next video.